Hello, sweet souls. This is DTO in the flow. Welcome to this incredible 5Q interview series where we get to listen to artists, musicians, yoginis, people that are here as creative souls on a roll to share their self-expression and their skill sets with the world. And today I get to interview a soul brother of mine, Taylor Gallegos. And he is an extraordinary painter, artist, and he creates these murals, as you can see in the photo here. Ta-da. And they are all over different parts, places in the world. And he will be sharing about that on our interview today. And so this is an opportunity for anyone to comment, share. If you're listening right now on the live, then we'd love for you to ask any questions. You can put an emoji just so we know you're here, and we can put your comments here fresh. And make sure to follow me on all my platforms, DTO Music, dtomusic.com. I have a recent release called J-Ram by Tara Davies singing, as well as we have an incredible remix producer. And today, I'm sure we're going to talk about how art is a remix, right? Taking components and elements of different places and spaces. And I definitely want to let everyone know that I am in Costa Rica with Himalaya, and we have a retreat coming up December 6th through the 12th. And we have a 3-day post-retreat that I'd love to connect you with. I had a transformative experience coming to Costa Rica in the late 90s, and it shifted my whole life, my perception of this incredible planet that we get to play on. And so we welcome you, invite you to come and join us on a retreat. So without further ado, I want to talk about art and how art is a lifestyle. And anyone out there, I'd love for you to put in the comments what kind of self-expression you utilize, whether it's music, whether it's painting, whether it's even just being in the garden and putting your hands in the dirt, like it's an art form to just create and design. Actually, as I speak, we're in the plans of putting a labyrinth on our property here in Costa Rica. And so that's art, that's design, that's creation. And so we're going to be going through questions today with Taylor Gallegos. So let's bring on the man. ¿Cómo estás, Taylor? How are you doing? Nice to see you.
Thanks for having me on the show. I'm really excited.
Yeah, thanks for being here. And so let's kick it off with question number 1. This is our 5Q show. So number 1, so when did you begin to love art?
I began to love art. Well, there's like the creative side of art, and then there's art with like a capital A that's like out there in the world. And I mean, the creative side of art, I started to love when I was a tiny little kid, just like everybody else. And I just kept on doing it. My first drawings were famously done all around the house on the walls at about 2 feet high. Off the ground, and in my dad's car, I was drawing these little dinosaurs all over the place. And then that turned into drawing plants, and then superheroes, and then sports stars, and then people in general. And then capital A art. As I got into college, I really was exposed to the world of fine art, of street art, of creative arts of all kinds. And that was when I really dove in and just fell in love to the whole culture of it all.
Oh, that's fantastic. I was actually going to pull up some of these images that you have on your Instagram, because you said that you're creating different types of art. And as you can see here, there's Iron Man, there's Bruce Lee, there's Kobe.
Yeah, that was fun. That was a recent project that I just completed in Woodland Hills, which is a northern part of LA. At a retreat center for people who are recovering from alcohol and drug addiction. And so the imagery was chosen to be an inspiration for people. There's Danny Trejo he's an actor who you've probably seen him in a lot of movies. He's been in recovery from alcohol addiction for a lot of years and has been successful in it. And so there's him, there's Steve-O, there's Robert Downey Jr. is a famous one. And then there's just inspirational characters like Bruce Lee and of course the local LA legend, Kobe Bryant, and then Jimi Hendrix and a bunch of more guys. It's really fun. I've always loved painting people people have always been my I guess love and like specialty.
Yeah, as I go down these posts on your Instagram, oh yeah, there's Joaquin Phoenix. Fantastic. I love it. Wonderful. Okay, so once you got inspired by what art is, right? Whether it's lowercase, uppercase, just art as a lifestyle, right? So that's really my first question. And then my second follow-up is so what inspired you to therefore create your own art? Like what was it that you felt like created those dinosaurs and began like what were you called to start creating? And how did that maybe unfold during your life from like child to adult?
Yeah, good question. I would say the thing that really kept pulling me back was the challenge of creating an image and having it convey some sort of energy or meaning or have it be successful in the structure of it. The beautiful thing about artistic creation is that it's like a never-ending grab bag of dimensions, of like challenges that you can continuously go after. You can always develop something a little bit more. You can always, and every time you come back, like you could do the same drawing 100 days in a row, and every single day it would present a new challenge for you. And so it's always just like giving you more. And it really is kind of a reflection of where you are that day, what your thought process is, where your skills have gotten to. Day one of that project would be completely different than day 100. You'd be thinking about different things. The stuff that tripped you up at the beginning wouldn't anymore. So then you'd be on to higher level elements of it. So I feel like the inspiration is this like continuous diving deeper into the art, the craft, your own psyche, your own philosophy and process. It's the best because of that. It just will never stop.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's like the never-ending gobstopper, right?
It is. Right. You love that. You love the never-ending gobstopper.
Infinite Energy. That's one of my album titles.
Yeah.
Well, I want to set up with a beautiful video that showcases your creations out in the world. And then the question that will follow is, how people respond to your art. So let's watch this clip first, and then we'll get to that question.
I'm Taylor Gallegos, and I'm an artist, and I'm donating a piece to the Wild Coast 20th Anniversary Fine Art Auction. I definitely find inspiration in nature with my artwork and just being out in the world, coming back to the canvas. It's amazing. I'm really excited to be a part of this event with Wild Coast. I've been making art that has an environmental impact element to it for a long time, and I've been looking for an organization to join up with. And Wild Coast is doing amazing things in Southern California and Baja, and I'm just happy to be a part of it. Happy 20th anniversary, Wild Coast.
Fantastic. That's incredible. So let's jump into the question. So how do people respond to your art?
Well, that's a really dynamic question because there's a lot of different art that I've created, and there's a lot of, everybody responds differently to every piece every time they come to it. For example, there was one painting that a friend of mine purchased, and it's this abstract piece. And he's in San Francisco, and I'll go visit him every once in a while, and we'll always end up talking about that piece. And the conversation is different every time because something different will have caught our eye, or like some new book that we have both read has like influenced the way that we're looking at it. And an obvious thing that a lot of people say right off the bat is that they're interested in like the technical element that, I hear all the time that People can't draw stick figures, and there's that. But so the technical element is something that people are often wowed by. But what I really love is when we get into the content of it and the responses, like emotionally, that people have, or philosophically. And that's where, when I'm talking about my art with people, I try to guide the conversation that way of, like, what does it bring up in you? What do you resonate with? What stands out? What does it make you feel? And I feel like those are the more important questions for people to ask themselves when they're looking at art. Is like, what does it mean to me? And in that way, it's our art is very democratic. It's for everybody, and everybody has an equal say. And the child who's 6 years old, their reaction to a painting is just as valid as the 65-year-old art critic who has been steeped in art history and contemporary art and everything, and has so much to say about everything. Like, they're both equally valid. So I guess my answer is all over the place. Everybody responds uniquely.
Yeah, and I love the video because it really showcased you out there in the world and creating with intention, for the environment, for the ecology, for the awareness, and to have purpose with art, I feel can bring that extra amount of ripple effects and energy, even though it may not be conscious. It's this unconscious like undertow of putting those brush strokes and recognizing how it's going towards a nonprofit or an incredible cause. And as you said, it could awaken the child or the adult or the inner child or whomever that is. And so I love the video because it showed a little insight of your creative process. So give us a little insight of your methodology. Like maybe your may shift every time. It may be a template that you've utilized, but I think a lot of artists are curious about that. And I do want to put up a couple comments right here. Some people said painting and acting is how they are self-expressed. That's from Don. Great to see you, Don. Pura vida. He's coming to Costa Rica in December. Nice. And then Tiffany, also coming to Costa Rica. She's an alchemist of plants. Lovely. And then Brian's giving you a big shout out. Taylor, you have never changed since the day I met you at the
What's up, Brian?
You're such a real and talented individual. This is the fun part of live streaming. You get to jump right into it.
That's so awesome. Yeah, Brian, hey, thanks for giving me that opportunity at the restaurant. I really appreciated that. That's great.
Yes, love those connections. That's fantastic. Yeah, so what is your creative process?
So my creative process, here's what I'm going to say about the creative process, is that when you think about creating a piece of art, a lot of times the word style comes into play. Like, what style are we going to want it to be in? And style, I would say, is a byproduct of your intention. And like the style and the creative process are all reflections of your intention. So I feel like that's the first question that we always want to ask ourselves is, what's my intention with this art? And then the creative process can develop from there. So if my intention is to just convey a heartfelt feeling, then my creative process is going to maybe be more emotional, more emotive. I'm not going to want to think as much. Thinking is going to get in the way of the connection to the intention, and the art is then going to be messed up. So you want it to be directly connected to that. Or if I want it to be really philosophical, then maybe my creative process is going to involve doing a little research and some books, and then thinking about extracting the main concepts, and then generating visual imagery that's off of the concepts, and then putting those together in sort of a composition that I think about and lay out and design specifically. There's certain paintings that I just start with a blank canvas with no idea where I'm going to go with it. And I just turn on some music and I go. And sometimes I'll set a time limit for those. And I'll say, I have 4 hours to make whatever's going to happen. And then you zoom out to like the large scale murals that I'm doing. Those have to be very calculated. And there has to be a lot of time developed or time put into getting things proportionally correct and getting things accurate. Because if you're doing a portrait on a large scale and the portrait or the proportions aren't right, it's going to be a mess up on a huge scale for everybody to see. So there's the creative process is very much dictated by the intention of that project.
Here's a great photo of you on site in front of a mural, putting together your creative process in advance. And yeah, these are great photos on your Instagram.
Yeah, and that project was a lot of fun. That was there's this rotating wall out on a restaurant here in Carlsbad. Brian Snyder is this local muralist artist who's awesome. He's been doing this project for like 7 years. Every 2 months, he gets a new artist to paint a mural there. And so I got on the list like 2 years ago, and I finally got my crack at it. And
nice.
It was cool developing. Like, I gave him a couple of concepts of things that I was interested in at the time, and then he said, "Go for it, either one, whatever you're most fired up about." And that was the concept of flow state, which you and I talked about when you were on my podcast. Everybody should go back and check that out on the Art and Life podcast. I think it was maybe episode 53. With the legendary Dave Kemp. That was awesome.
That was great. Flow state. We're in the flow. This is why this show is called DTO in the flow.
Yeah, exactly. That's creativity right there. But yeah, and then we went back and forth, and I just created imagery that was based on the concept of flow state and what that meant to me and what that means to other people. So there's like a meditator on there. There's Kobe Bryant in the zone. There's surfers and artists and musicians. Carlos Santana was on there. And so, yeah, that was more of like a thought out and then, large scale portrait sort of like thing. And then when it comes to painting, I just let it rip and have fun and enjoy my time.
Yeah, that's an incredible image that encompasses, so many different aspects of what's possible when it comes to art and how you can create. And yeah, it's great to have that intention. And I love what you shared about having that intention. And I'll that image up so you can see the final product, everyone. I love the person meditating in the center, just like there you go. There's Taylor's creative root chakra, right? Boom, this is what's possible. And then the music and the surfing and nature and all of it coming together, I feel is really gorgeous and represents who you are, because I know how much you love music and how much you love the surf. And it's just like this collection and collaborative. I love how you worked with, the person that had shared their vision of having different muralists come out to the site, and for each of them to get their own, as you say, own crack at it and be like, okay, this is what's possible. And these are beautiful images. All right, so let's jump into question 5. How can people find you online and connect with you? Where's the best place to go?
Oh, I'm active on Instagram, and then I share that to Facebook, and my website shows that, and my website has a little bit more like put together larger imagery. So yeah, they're all at Taylor Gallegos Art and taylorgallegosart.com.
Oh, that's fantastic. I'll make sure that gets up here on the screen. And so what's your next project? What's your current project that you're working on currently?
Well, I just finished that big project. That was a 3.5-week gig. I've got a handful of smaller projects. Really, what I would say that I'm working on, like when you zoom out, is taking this business of mine surrounding my art and growing it a lot larger. I have a whole team around me. We got people who are scouting for murals. I've got a business manager. One just stepped out, and I've got a new one who just stepped in, and she's got a background in marketing and PR. And I'm really excited I guess the project is like blasting the message larger and larger and thinking bigger, thinking in longer terms. And, I really want to just do as much with this craft, this skill that I have, and do as much good for the world as possible and inspire people, because there's so many people I know that are at the place where I was years ago, where I wanted to be making my living off of art. And I'm an example. You're an example. We are examples of people that can show you that it's totally possible. And it's just about, keeping at it, learning as much as you can, developing yourself, building a community. And so, yeah, that's the bigger project of what's happening right now.
Yeah, I love that. That's fantastic. Well, I'm grateful that we can be connected and have these conversations. And thank you for everyone that's watching right now on the live stream or on the archive. And as you can see below here, go to taylorgallegosart.com. And there are so many incredible murals and paintings. You can get prints. You can, of course, reach out directly to Taylor and his team. And if you have a vision of where you would like art to be in your life, I know that Taylor, as you can already witness through what we shared today, is absolutely here to co-create whatever your vision is. And that's what I love. And I love how you integrate other lifestyles, like your love of surfing, your passion of music, and how it all connects. And that's one of the messages I feel for anyone that's watching that isn't yet artistically or creatively expressive. Just go for it anyway. And I love your creative process idea of just setting a timer and being like, I'm just going to explore. I'm just going to be in the sandbox of life like a child, just playing with Play-Doh. I'm just going to start creating and making things and building sandcastles, and whatever happens. I'm just going to go for it anyway. And so that's a great inspiration for anyone that's listening and watching right now to take those steps forward and move towards that passion, whatever it is in your life. And thanks again for being here, Taylor. Appreciate you.
Definitely. Thank you for having me. And can I take 1 second here and just share with everybody here on the podcast how awesome you are, Dave. I just want to reflect back to you, just like, you're the man. Dave, I did a little 3-month dive into music production, and Dave was my guide for that. So we'd meet up weekly, and you were always just giving me awesome advice. It was so fun to work with you. You just like really helped me grow. And that ended up being like a major piece for me to like really level up at that time. Like in my art, it was wild because the music production element was what like really kicked my art into the next level. So yeah, thanks, Dave.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, that was such a joy and great time. We had just been in a men's group together, and that was powerful work. And for us to be able to bring about that collaborative spirit for that 3-month process of okay, here's how musical projects, and this is how this digital audio workstation works. And it's like the technical part of it. And then there's like, okay, what's the intention? What's the BPM, the beats per minute? What's the outcome that a listener could possibly have? Is it to get people on the dance floor? Is it get people to go inward and meditate and relax? Like how it can really intertwine. And I love how that project you had of learning how to produce music really inspired you and pumped you up to even put it into your visual art. So I love how it's all connected, right, brother?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you for being here. And anyone that is available to want to have that dream, that passion, that vision. Hopefully today's episode really cracked open that little portal of possibilities. And we encourage all of us to tap into our heart and to be expressed and to think about how art can be a lifestyle. And it truly is. And you're a wonderful example of that, Taylor. I respect you. I admire you, and you keep on inspiring the world. So thanks, brother, for being here.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. And to all the listeners, whatever it is that you want to do it.
Absolutely.
Start small and go after it. It starts with one step. That's it. All it takes.
Aho. All right. Thank you, everyone.